Hi, everyone. It's Victoria with Temple of Geek. I am so excited today to be chatting with the legendary voice actor, Dina Sherman. Dina, thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh. So I think the best place to start is the fact that you have had such a long, diverse career in voice acting and live action. I was doing my research on you, and like your first credits go back nearly 50 years, which I don't think is possible.
50?
And yeah, well, it said you've been active since 1976. And I'm like, you're not,
What?
you were born in 1976.
I don't think that's right.
Oh, never mind. Okay. I'll take it again.
No. It's okay. I appreciate it. I think 1990s.
Oh, okay. I know. I'm like, she's too young.
I'm like, yeah, no, but okay, sure.
Well, anyway, you have such a long, diverse career in voice acting and live action. What do you think have been some of the sources or causes of your longevity in this field?
Ooh, flexibility. I can touch my toes. No. I think it's being able to pivot, always being, there's so many things. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, work-wise in the booth, being able to take direction and pivot, being easy to work with is super important, because people want to bring you back and work with you again. Being able to adapt as the business changes, taking on new ways, taking classes and learning new ways of delivering or what the latest styles or what's in, what's hip, what's happening now. So just being flexible and learning to go with learning to learn what's new, being open to learning, never getting stuck. And loving to play. I love to play. To me, voiceovers is playing.
That's amazing. I mean, I think we would all say that like any creative art or pursuit is you have to maintain that sense of play no matter how much money you're getting paid or how hard it is.
Or what you're going through in life. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many, I've been through so many, I don't want to say so many tragedies, but tragic things. And then you have to step into a booth and be professional, so the tears stay outside. Freaking hard. Very hard. Or I remember my very, very first job. It was for a pilot for Hanna-Barbera. So it was my first legit, real gig. It was like a thing. I was in an ensemble session with all these amazing. If I knew how legendary the people in the room were before I walked in, I probably would have freaked out more. I just kind of went, I kind of know who that is. Oh, okay. Oh, you're really old, but I bet you've worked this for a long time. I had just gotten a new manager, which was nice, I was in the business, and my husband had just proposed. And so I'm in the room and I'm doing my first job, and I finally looked over, I think it was April Winchell, and I was like, I don't feel my feet on the ground. I'm just so, my head, was in the clouds. This was like heaven. And she goes, oh, darling, you're doing great.
Yay. Oh, that's so wonderful.
And I'm like, I'm just so, that out of body kind of like, so much. I can't do the angels harking, but imagine do a sound, do a sound thing right there.
Yeah, right. Amazing. And I think that, that definitely says I think because you've always maintained this sense of play and flexibility, I mean, that shows in your work. I mean, you've had the chance to lend your voice to so many beloved properties like Genshin Impact and Bleach and Marvel Future Avengers. As you look back, are there any roles that felt particularly pivotal to you, or are there also any personal favorites?
Ooh. Oh my God, Sophie's Choice.
Yeah.
I used to say that before I saw the movie, and then I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to say that anymore.
Ooh, intense. I know. I was moderating a Q&A, and I asked a similar question. I go, pick a child. So we're on the same page.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think was really pivotal in a different kind of way was I got cast as Carbine on Biker Mice from Mars. On the early 2000 remake. And I worked with Rob Paulson and Jess Arnell and Ian Searing, and there's just like amazing cast. which was the worst part about it was I would leave with side aches, my ribs from laughing for hours.
Oh.
I mean, I would go home and it's like, oh my God, my ribs. That was the worst part. And they told me they listened to thousands of people, and I got really lucky. I got cast. It was awesome. Great. But the producers of that show also were involved with the CFA Hollywood, which puts on the Annie Awards. And one day after a session, they said, hey, Dina, we're looking to get maybe a live announcer for this thing called the Annie Awards. This was back in 2005. Would you like to be our live announcer? We'd like to try a female voice. Sure. Yeah. Pivot, right? Before, but I'd had years of experience doing voice acting. I knew how things kind of worked. I was like, okay, give me sure, I'll do it. And I did it that year, and they were like, great. And I was like, all right, well, that was a one-time thing. And then they called me to do it again. And I was like, oh, that was kind of great. Cool, and then they called me to do it again. I was like, oh, this is getting really exciting. And then one year they didn't call me, and I was like, oh my God. So I called my agent, and I'm like, do you want to find out? They forgot to call me. They assumed I was going to be there next month. This was December. It was in January.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, wait, what? Oh my God, we didn't book you? And I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm like, no, my God, you are available on this date. I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, that's it. You are the voice of the Annie Awards. We're not going to have anybody else. I'm like, ah! So I've done it. This was my 19th year as the voice of the Annie Awards. So if there was ever a pivotal role, that would be a pivotal role. And I love playing Carbine because she was a badass,
Love it.
We love her. My kids. It was just, she was like grown up.
Love it. We love a badass female. Also, I was going to ask you about the Annie Awards because for those who don't know, it's basically like the Oscars and the Emmys of animation.
Yes.
And as a voice actor, I can imagine, that's a tremendous honor to be asked to voice the Annie Awards, but also it's like at the Oscars, I feel like you can kind of fudge it because all of us terrible studio people might not be as up on the ins and outs of animation, but for you, you're in a room of your peers. So and I can imagine maybe there was some pressure. So how do you navigate both the honor, then also coming correct for your community of artists?
I hate saying that. Oh, good question. No, I love that question because for me, it is honoring my community. I'm always saying that. So I love how you asked that question. So editing. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
The celebrities of the animation world, as you would all know, these are not the Angelina Jolies and Brad Pitts. These are not the faces that, yes, they can guest star. And yes, Angelina was there one year, but they are not the faces that everyone knows that are plastered everywhere. These are the unsung heroes, the creative geniuses behind all the amazing stuff that we love. And to me, it's about them. It's honoring their night, their award, their nomination. So even when I started to get to do the red carpet, I remember, okay, I'm giving you a little dirt here. Okay.
Love it.
So one year I'm on the red carpet and I'm standing next to one of the Winsor McKay Award winners. It's kind of a lifetime achievement award. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's standing next to me. And I walk onto the red carpet and I swear to God, all the cameras went, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah. No one knows the voice of the Annies. Fine, no big deal. But they did it to this gentleman too. And we were standing there and we looked at each other and we're like, well, this is interesting. And I said, I understand them not knowing me, but how do they not know you? How do they not? This is a Lifetime Achievement Award winner. He's announced. He's not going to be a winner announced out of nominees. He's one of 3. There are 3 Winsor McKay Awards. And he was standing next to me and all the cameras went. I went to the heads and I said, look, I don't have to be on the red carpet. I don't care if take pictures of me. My family or my friends are going to click pictures and I'm going to have them anyway. I don't care. But this should never, ever happen to someone who's important, who's being honored. what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen? And they were like, oh my God, that happened? You know, because the people running it are running the show. The person
it's like one cog in a big machine, right?
Yeah. And it would have been, they could have been there at the beginning or been further down the red carpet. I think the PR person was busy dealing with something, and it was an absolute oops. That has never happened since. Everybody is honored. And I feel whenever I announce people, I'm a stickler. I'm such a raving bitch about it. I want to know how to pronounce the name. Get them over here to me. Because I think the most important thing to any human being is the sound of their own name. As long as it's not their parent yelling at them. Repeating it 3 times. Then we don't like it. But, or the full name. But
yeah, or putting an F-bomb in between the first and the last.
Yeah, which I have not done that. But no, anyway. Hearing the sound of their own name, especially being announced on stage, has to be, I think, the best sound anybody would want to hear. And I want to make sure I get it right. I don't ever want to send somebody out going, oh, crap, you said my name wrong. I just think that would be horrible. So I always feel it's an honor to be there and honoring those people. I'm a cog in the wheel. I am just there to facilitate the show's flow, to make sure people know what's going on, what's coming up next, who it is talking. That's my job. And I'm there to make sure they shine. It's not about me. I'm backstage. I'm sitting right there.
But still, I always call hosting or moderating something. It's very akin to hosting a great party. And it's very much the duck paddling very intensely under the surface while they glide along the water. So respect. Getting back to you, and again, your illustrious career, you're particularly known for your work for your dubbing work. So how do you, and this is something, because I'm going to be fully transparent, I'm not as familiar with this aspect of animation and voiceover. So this is a personal Victoria question. How do you approach a new role when you're bringing it to an English speaking audience? Does the performance of the original language actor inform your take on the character? Or do you treat it like a blank slate, rather?
So for anime dubbing, and even for on-camera dubbing, I've done foreign films as well, which is live action. And that's really hard. I mean, it's hard in a really different way because they have their acting style and their emotion, their way of delivering. But for anime and video games and things in that purview, absolutely. I'm brought in to, again, honor the project. I mean, it has a lot of people like to listen to anime in its original language. Stop that. What the heck, man? No, I'm kidding. No, so you want to make sure you honor what that is. So a lot of times when we audition, sometimes they'll send a voice track. Please don't get mad at me, but it's like, oh
my God, that's so good. I could never.
Or if you do speak Japanese, biru o kurasai, sumimasen, makoto dono. I just said,
just do. Oh my God. I'm like, are you just also doing the original voice? Because your Japanese is so good.
No. You hear it, and so I'll imitate it. I don't, usually I don't know what they're saying in Japanese. And like with the romantic languages, their adjectives and adverbs and everything fall after in different parts of the sentence. So they don't say the sentence the same way. So you can't actually match it. They might say their name, but we would, in English, you would say, I am Yachiru Kusajishi. I'm Yachiru Kusajishi. Come on, Kenny. And then if you hear the Japanese, you wouldn't hear Japanese Yachiru Kusajishi. You'd hear Japanese Yachiru Kusajishi, Kenny. Come on, Kenny. You know what I mean? It's in different order. Lip flaps. It's interesting. Yes, I definitely. Actually, Oh my gosh, when I first did Bleach, oh, you brought back a fun memory.
Yay!
When we did the first video game that Bleach did, I remember going into the recording studio, and I was, young. I don't know. I think I've always been young or just stupid.
No, I think I want your skincare routine after this. Stop. Keep going.
No, that naive, like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And there were people in the room, so I forgive me for voice splaining. But
please, no, please.
The actor stands on one side of the glass. We're in a booth that's soundproof. And if it's a good studio, you have glass in front of you. You've got the script or the TV monitor or whatever the tech they're using, the microphone, yada, yada, yada. And the other side of the glass is the engineer and usually the producers and directors and yada, yada. Oh, I'm using yada, yada a lot. But people, now when I do it, because of COVID and like with Genshin Impact, everyone's all over the world. It's all of them except the engineer on my headphones. But usually they're on the other side of the glass. And back in 2007, maybe, when they did the first Bleach video game, and it was early 2000s, they had people in the room. And I didn't know who they were, wasn't necessarily introduced to all of them. But afterwards, one of the guys like, oh my God, I absolutely love how you did this. You sound exactly like the Japanese actress. And I was like, oh my gosh, cool. Or, because at that point they hadn't given us the sounds of what they really sounded like. It was,
wow.
A leap. So yeah, you definitely want, okay, so back to your question, we want to honor, the show and you want to honor the storyline. And it's not, so for acting and for, more normal animation, you're given a script, so you can kind of see what it is you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. With anime, you're not necessarily. And it used to be on paper. I used to have stacks of books for Bleach. Okay, go to binder 24, flip to episode 232. Okay, scroll down to line 484, and you open it, you open it up, and you get to 484, and there's your line. And you say it. And you might do it again, because you have to read it. And then you're also trying to sync it to the, to the lip flaps, get the timing right, that it's sight reading. And, yeah.
No, that's amazing. Yeah.
And the director, they're always so good because they've gone through and worked with the writing of it. They'll tell you what's happening in the scene, who you're talking to, what they might have just said. If you don't know, if it's not there in front of you, now not a binder anymore. Now it's basically a Excel spreadsheet, kind of.
Oh, wow.
Just your lines. And for Genshin, it's just and then it just keeps scrolling up, or they'll highlight which line you're on. So it's just a huge TV screen of your lines, and so you have to make sure you're reading the one line at a time. But
oh my gosh, my eyes would fall out of the socket. You going.
It was a bit of a learning curve to work, because then they had it on a small iPad in front of you, or they have it on a big screen. So I have different, I have reading glasses. If it's a small iPad, if it's across the room, they'll enlarge the font, or they'll make it smaller, whatever it is, so that you can read it, because it doesn't help anybody if you can't.
Yeah, right.
I do work with you.
Right.
So that's not a big deal. But I love it on Genshin. They read you in. They'll say, the other character's line, and so you can respond, which is so helpful for acting. And with Genshin, you're not matching lip flaps. If you play the game, they're not stinking to the mouth, whereas Bleach, they are. So Bleach is more real dubbing. We're dubbing a voice out. This is just replacing, I guess. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. No, that's so fascinating. I think especially for people, because I've personally worked mostly in live action. I've had the great honor and privilege to work with Sony Animation on a couple projects, but the nuts and bolts of something, you think it's so easy, you're just saying the English, and then you realize how all the technique and the craft and the artistry and the musicality that goes into what you do. it's like the metaphor of the duck. There's so much work to make it look effortless. So no, thank you for taking me through that. I haven't.
Do you know about the beeps?
Sorry?
Do you know about the beeps?
I know there are beeps. I don't know exactly what they mean.
I mean, if I'm explaining, I might as well explain the beeps.
Please.
I would be remiss to not do that. So usually what happens is in live action, they go in 5, 4, 3. In dubbing, mostly in dubbing, they don't do it in regular animation. You hear beep, beep, beep. And where the fourth beep should be is where you start.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so, cool.
It's usually like beep, beep, doc. I can't say beep and breathe in, but that's usually you get your breath, because you need to have, breath support if you're going to get through,
right,
sentence or two, and act and make sound effects and ad lib a little bit and do, whatever. It depends. And then you're also doing a split brain thing if you're dubbing, because you're reading, but you're also trying to make sure of the timing of the, your eyes are everywhere. You're like, they're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. That's so fascinating. I have another question about your amazing body of voice work, because I know you've done so many additional voices roles. And again, because you are an artist and an actor at your core, as is every person who works in animation. So how do you balance bringing multiple characters to life in the span of an episode or a series?
Okay, edit out the pause to answer the question.
No, I was like, wait, do I not understand what additional voices are? Because that's also a very real risk.
Additional voices. So in animation, you're asked to do, you're hired to do one, but you can do up to 3. And then,
okay, cool.
Unless it's non-union and you don't do it. But it's really interesting. Each character. Okay, I know how I want to answer. Everything has a placement. This is the easiest way I can answer. There's so many different ways based on the character of knowing, which character you want to play. But a lot of it comes down to placement, where it's placed in your mouth, in your vocal range, in your body. So, little girls are up here, and I know that they're going to come out here. And their big eyes and everything's wonderful. And that's the character. And then if he has to do the brother, the brother's a bit of a, troublemaker, and he's got his, shoulders are in it, and his texture and his placed back in the throat. So there's a placement that, when I say her, when I'm talking about the sister, I'm going to be up here. When I'm talking about the brother, I'm going to be down here, and they'll have different attitudes. You can have lead-in lines, it's like, shut up. And that's my characters, whatever I say there. Chiru Kusachishi, come on, Kenny. I know I'm always in my placement when I say that line for her. Diona, bartender at the Cat's Tail. Yeah, the ears and tail are real. I don't know, prop. I know I'm in the character. So it's kind of depends. If you were lucky enough to do it for a long time, you can pop in and pop out. But when it's new, it's just knowing where the voice is placed, technically what your body's feeling, and what their attitude is. That's my fastest way of answering your question.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And I mean, again, I feel like a broken record, but it bears repeating. The length and the breadth of your career speaks for itself. But I'm curious, is there anything left on your bucket list? Any dream projects?
Oh my gosh, there's so many dream projects. I want to do a Lego movie. I would love to be wouldn't that be fun? I want to play a comedy villain. I have like one of my characters way back, and I love this series, but no one knows of it, is Monk Holy Knights. I played Gluco. She was one of the bad guys, but she was not the sharpest tack. She's like, oh, look, the walls of my cell are the same color as my nail polish. Excuse me.
Love it.
What do you mean if you roll over on the wrong side of the bed? If the bed's against the wall, how do you do that?
No, it's great. We need more bimbo villains out there.
That's my bimbo villain, but I would just love to be, that snotty person who just, you are so ugly, UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. I've seen your dog who looks like you. You must be twins. He's ugly too. You're ugly. It would just
That's great.
So much fun. Or to be an adult villain, that I would love to do that. There are so many. It's so beautiful is in the business that I'm in, and being part of the TV Academy and CFA and being a part of these types of events. I know so many people have so many amazing projects. I just want to be a part of all of them because I love the project. I love the story. So the things that are out already, they're done. I can't be a part of those. But a franchise, I'm not so much. I don't want to be a Disney princess. There's a lot of ingenues and wonderful girls out there that are amazing singers and have great voices, and they could make great princesses. I would have loved to have been Rapunzel's mother in Tangled.
Yeah, yes, that's a great role. Also, I think we've all come around to the realization that villains have more fun anyway. So I love that. Let's speak it into existence. Is there anything that you have coming up that you can share with us? Where can we hear you or see you next?
I have a couple of pilots, but I can't talk about them yet. And they're not. There's funding is hard in the animation world.
Funding is hard, period, nowadays. My God.
So that has to happen. But I'm producing my own stuff.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. Right now, the title of the series is called Bad Eggs, EGGZ. And I do have a placeholder up on YouTube because I want it to be on YouTube. I want it to be accessible, but it's adult. It's dirty. It's raunchy. They're bad eggs.
Literally. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I have some really great people who've recorded, the pilot episode. So I made it in one episode that's short, but it's to be broken up into little shorts. So there's several episodes.
Oh, awesome. Like a proof of concept.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. But again, I have to get it made. But you're welcome to subscribe to it.
Please, that was my next question is where can we find you online and see Bad Eggs and support all the wonderful work you're doing?
So I am almost everywhere in social media as Dina Sherman, Dina, Sherman like the tank, because I am just so big. This big. And on TikTok, I think I'm Dina Sherman 21. On LinkedIn, I'm Dina Sherman.
Yeah, we'll link to everything. But yeah.
And then I have a YouTube channel for kids that I'm really proud of. It was my passion project during COVID. And I'm still working on adding more things to it. Actually, Bad Eggs came from that because at Halloween, wow. I know, it's super cool. And Halloween, I have this app, My Talking Pet. I'll have to get a better app though. I took eggs. I went to the farmer's market and bought all different color eggs and little quail egg. And I put little googly eyes on them and foam mouth and little pom-poms for hair, just silly DIY. And I made them sit around my little barbecue, my little fireplace, telling ghost stories. Ooh. And they all have there's 5 of them and they all had their own little ghost stories. So I had 5 little episodes of these little eggs and it was unexpected spooky stories. And
cute.
A producer friend of mine calls me up and he's like, Dina, I like what you have here. Let's do this, but age it up. So those eggs are really innocent and they're fun and they're telling scary stories. But Bad Eggs is the spinoff for a different audience.
Yeah, the after dark
spinoff. Yeah. Anyway, that YouTube channel is called Dina Sherman Stories and More. all one word.
Okay.
So it's super easy.
Great.
Stories and more. And then Bad Eggs. I think you can find it. If not, I can email me afterwards, and I'll just give you the link to the.
Perfect.
Because there's nothing on it yet, except I had an artist make the icon, so you could see Bad Eggs and get an idea of what it's possibly going to be.
Just a vibe. Hey, that's really important. Now and again, in this industry, it's more about proof of concept and doing the decision maker's job for them. So that's great. That's wonderful. Well, it's been, as you should be. That's wonderful. I think it's a really fun era. I hate that word. I think Taylor Swift killed that word. It's really fun. We're in a really fun moment right now, even though it is a really hard time to be in entertainment, I think it's empowering a lot more creators to make their own material. So I'm thrilled that you're one of them, especially given the amazing history you have in this medium.
Well, it kind of circles back to your first question, I think. Flexibility.
Yeah.
Pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. Pivot.
Figure out your world shuts down. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to read stories from authors from around the world and create my own content.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, this has been such a lovely conversation. I thank you so much for your time and your energy and your generosity in teaching me further how voice acting works. Yes. I mean, seriously, because I've seen ADR happen. I've seen some other stuff with animation, but this was such an interesting, valuable insight. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank you for doing the research and knowing a little, and asking me such amazing questions. To be honest, they were great, great questions. It's so funny. I love watching stuff. It's like, oh, that was a great question. Oh, you just solved. But I'm like, no, that was like right on. That's exactly the right question. So thank you. Thank you. And
amazing.
Thank you for having me. And to everybody out there, Geeks rule.
Yes.
I married.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much.
He's not.
I'm hoping to.